Buckle in. It is a hell of a ride. Hell of an emotional roller coaster ride. Hope you can hang on. Welcome, everyone. I was inspired by London Jador to put a video on Get to Know Me. I'm feeling a lot stronger these days, so I am going to try to put a few facts of myself in my life and how I became involved in all that I do as fast as possible. I'm not one to talk a lot. Those that, when I talk about a certain part of my life, will understand I deleted those videos. When I went back and watched those videos, I was choking back tears so bad in those videos that I didn't feel comfortable leaving them up anymore. So, in saying all that, the best way I will say this is I first dabbled into the tarot when I was 15 years old at a slumber party. A bunch of girls were playing with tarot, and they were doing it all wrong. I could just tell. And I was like, no, this is how you do it. And I'm like, how the hell did I even know that? But they came very natural to me at a young age, and I've been reading them ever since. How I came up with my own deck of cards was my own personal life experience. When I couldn't understand a certain tarot, I studied psychology a lot. So I would turn the meanings into questions on how to ask myself so I could open up the screen door to see exactly what was going on. My own cards and my own book saved my life. Let's see. I am a survivor of a lot of things. And a lot of it was from my own personal choices, which is a big pill to swallow, because a lot of us don't want to recognize the very woes in our life was from our own personal choices. And but we're so caught up in what they've done to us, because it's our ego. Even if you're getting your ass beat and hand it to yourself, it happens. But you can survive. And after I got out of my abusive situation, because I got tired, I was coming up on 26 years working in the service business. I fell for an ex that had a very good job, that had no problem with me staying home and taking care of the home and propelling my career with my book and my cards, which weren't printed yet at the time. And I ended up in an abusive situation. And he ended up not taking very good care of me at all. I will be blogging about it on and off throughout the year. So in saying all that, asking myself questions through my own deck of cards that I had on hand that were handwritten on commissary, I would ask myself these questions. So we'll skip up a bunch because there's a lot of stuff that I'd rather not talk about in that span. Let's lead up to 2013. I walked 12 miles in a $1 pair of flip-flops to a Greyhound station. And thanks to a very kind friend and following my inner compass when I didn't even have a cell phone, but I followed the orbs as I walked, and I knew what gas stations to ask the right person if I could use their phone so I could call back home and touch base with a friend of mine again. And thank God for technology, because I did not know where I was, because I was technically in a hostage situation when somebody keeps you against your own will and keeps you locked in a room and you can't get out and you fight till your knuckles are bloody. That's not good. But once you get out, be grateful. So anyways, I'm getting off track again. So as I follow these orbs, like I remember, as an example, as I was walking, I kept saying to myself, there's a whole reason why I'm getting to this. Just hang in there with me. So the whole time I'm walking, my feet are throbbing, my feet are bleeding, my hips are hurting. And I finally get to this gas station. It's an auto mechanic's place. And I'm like, should I go there? Should I not? And it was called Ed's Auto Mechanic. And Ed is the name of my brother. So I went there, and these two young men let me use their phone as long as I needed to talk with a friend that coached me through Google Earth 4 miles from that point where I could go to a Western Union to pick up money that she was sending me so I can get a Greyhound ticket. And then from there, I walked an additional 4 miles back to the gas station adjacent to that, and there was this young girl there, and I had seen a decal on a car of a ferry. And then when I looked at the gas station, when I went inside the gas station, the woman that was at the counter had a tattoo on her neck of a fairy. And I looked at her and I said, blessed be. And she's like, oh, blessed be. And I was like, whew. And then I explained to her my situation on how I was on foot and how I have money and I have no problem paying $5 for a phone call. I really needed help, and I explained everything to her and where I needed to go. And I needed to find the Greyhound station because at that point I had managed to make it back to 8 Mile. And I was like, I need to get to Greyhound in Detroit. And she's like, oh no, honey. She's like, you look like you've been through enough. She's like, you don't got good footwear on. She's like, I'm from the streets too. I understand. I've been in your situation before. I can just feel your energy right now. She's like, if you got it in you, she's like, walk up this road 6 miles, hang a left, walk another 2 miles, and you're right by Greyhound. And she's like, there's no crosswalks. She's like, but there's no hood traffic. You don't have to worry about people hitting on you. She's like, you're just dealing with Mother Nature and you're dealing with cars. She was like, just go. She's like, don't take a ride from anybody though. And I was like, no problem. I trust you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I walked and I walked and I walked. Oh my God, it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I can laugh about this. I get there. I got my money in my pocket. I'm there. I could barely feel my feet at this point. The only thing I have on me is some church clothes that I got from a random church. That's a whole nother story. This ugly ass sack, I didn't care, but it had my cards in there, my angel cards. They were the last 2 things I had in this one crystal. And I still have those. Those were the only 3 things I had left, which are over there up on my altar. And the guy just looked at me. He's like, you look like the happiest person on the face of this earth. I was like, one-way ticket to, Cleveland, Ohio, please. And then I was like, I'm going to be sitting over here quietly. I'm trying to hide from someone. And he's like, oh, one of those situations. And I was like, yes. And then he was just like, don't worry. He's like, if you fall asleep, I'll wake you up. I'm like, thanks. But I didn't fall asleep. I was not missing that bus. But when I got on that bus, I was so happy. And then there was this young girl sitting next to me. And I was teaching her about manifesting, and I was telling her about how I just got out of that situation and how I wished I lived in a paid home, Victorian home. But I forgot to say, like I paid for it, it's my home, blah, blah, blah. But I just kept repeating to myself when I was abandoned in that trailer, rushing my fingers across the walls, saying I was grateful that now that I lived in a house that was paid for, so I didn't have to worry about being homeless anymore. Worrying about somebody else to take care of me. Didn't have to worry about taking care of myself for a minute. I knew I had to get myself psychologically straight. And saying all that, when I got on Greyhound, the young girl that was sitting next to me was actually so much younger than myself. 5 kids, 5 different baby daddies. She was all messed up. That's about enough I'll say about her story. So I ended up counseling her for 8 hours of the bus ride. And the reason why I say 8 hours is because there was delays. Even though it was a 3-hour bus ride, we had delays for a couple hours in some places because of the weather. And I'm trying to remember where I'm going with that. Oh yeah, so then I end up back in town. My girlfriend picks me up at Greyhound, and she's like, I thanked her over and over again. And then she's like, Marisa, she's like, I know the strong woman you are. She's like, you've lived on your own for so long. We've all made stupid choices. And she's been a friend of mine for over 15 years, so I was grateful for her because most of the people I knew from the bar, so they knew me as like this tough chick that could get through anything, that just because I can handle my own and I can handle my shift at a bar never means that anybody can handle, just anything, especially if they're quiet or something don't seem right about them when they're on the internet. Reach out to them and ask them what's wrong. You'd be surprised how quick they're willing to answer real fast. And you'd be surprised how many of us females are on the internet where our spouse is standing where you can't see them and they're controlling, our every move. So it is what it is. Go to my last channel. You'll see. You'll notice. You'll notice my personality in this as opposed to my personality in the last one. I was doing everything I could to get away from him. I was even trying to act like a nut job to get locked up in the hospital just so I could tell someone my situation so I could get out. I did everything I could. Got stuck in hotel bathroom windows trying to crawl out. I mean, it was ridiculous. One day I am going to write a book about that because I realized that it could help a lot of women, because a lot of women think because if a man keeps you, in check all the time, that you're not in a hostage situation when you really are. It's really messed up. So, and then when it's extremes to other extremes, and then when they get in your head, it's ridiculous. But saying all that, when I got back out here, I had some friends in 3 different areas, because he was still on the loose, and they were all like, I ended up taking his auto parts job, and I was doing tarot cards on the side. I was doing guest features at different stores. I was doing everything and anything I could think of to keep my mind focused on what I wanted to do. The money I used from the auto parts job, I produced I polished my book. My book was already out there, but I polished it better. I produced my oracle cards. I got my clay. I made my dice. I got my boards actually came from a kind friend that gave me a little bit of capital, about $500, because they said they totally believed in me, and I used that money, which I paid back by doing services for them, by cleaning their home and other things that they couldn't get to that I was able to do for them. And then we just kept a list and, credited, because I used to run my own cleaning business, so I knew what my worth is. So I was able to offer that services that they benefited from also, that helped me get extra money to get my certificates. That's how I got my ministry certificate, my IET certificates, all that stuff. And the money that I make right now is what's helping my mom. And where I stay at now is in an old Victorian home that's paid for, so they don't know how to create a rent for me. So for me to stay here, I barter my services by keeping up with the house for them, because they work 2 jobs. They have a full-time job, but they also have 2 side jobs at home by their personal choice. It's what they enjoy doing. And so it's hard for them to keep up with their house. So like yesterday, I just put in a full 7-hour shift of cleaning, which is worth $175, and it's 3 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, a living room, a dining room, kitchen, and laundry room, and litter boxes, 6 of them. So know your worth. Barter your services if you're ever in a messed up situation. Just make sure you're not taken advantage of. And I'm very grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for my cards, for they saved my own personal life. I'm grateful for angel numbers and signs and dots that I see every day. They have saved my life. And they've also led me to a way of being happy, because of a dear friend right now that is letting me barter my services. Feels great because I'm able to stack money so I can get my own place again. Get my van, because my van was stolen. When it rains, it pours, but it happens. And yeah, that's about it. Right. One time I wanted a house. Right now I just want a studio apartment, because I'm revamping my whole life. At one time I wanted five boys, and I wanted to be married to a very, strong-willed man, hardworking, intimacy, very strongly. We laughed together, and it just wasn't in the cards. So here I am, 43, husbandless and childless, never been pregnant. It happens. So all I really need is a small efficiency or studio apartment. I help my mother. She is on a budget with her Social Security, and I don't mind helping her at all. She was a single mother, raised 3 kids, all on her own. And so she is, in my eyes, very deserving to relax. She is such a simple woman. Right now, she's like, I am living life like a millionaire, because you keep in mind, she comes from the island of poverty, but not poverty. That's a whole nother story I'll explain another time, because it went from great-grandma being my great-grandfather's servant to wife. So that's a whole nother story. Not very pleasant either, but us women managed to know how to take something negative and make something extremely positive out of it, so the next generation can propel forward. Like my grandmother took the capital and brought her family here to America legally, so our generation could be born here, even though she was a servant to one of the wealthiest people out there and then turned into the wife. What's considered wealth is nowhere near the wealth in America, so it really depends on where you're at. So even in my condition, most people would look at me like, they see I bake a beautiful homemade frosting, beautiful networking social cake, because it's from scratch. It's no box cake. Most box cakes are millionaires, and I'm not a millionaire yet, and I have more plans beyond that also. So that's just a little bit about me. And if you want to know more about my personal grits of life, I will leave the link below. Right now I'm currently blogging every shade of asshole. Everybody talks about every shade of gray. Get your fetish on, have fun, but I'm telling you, when you wake up, it's just every shade of asshole. Shit. Did I just say that? It is what it is. Namaste. Ashe, ashe. Continue to have a rockin' day.